Welcome to the trade deadline edition of the On the Diamond podcast, and my first ever episode on the Sports Jedi Media Network. After a small number, most of my episodes being on the Aboriginal Sports Network and some on the Hardcore Sports Network, and a couple for political reasons not being placed on the OTD, on the ABSN. Having said that, trade deadline is getting frantic as we head towards the August 3rd deadline. Let's run down some of the rumors we've had. From the Angels, Jose Soriano got scratched from his start, and John Mozeliak, the interim GM of the LA Angels of Anaheim, is looking to find some way to get rid of him, taking a prune of the poach to see if it'll get him anything. Clay Holmes, currently on the Mets, finished his third rehab start for the Brooklyn Cyclones. And he has acknowledged that the Mets are probably going to be trading him come Monday. Question is, where does he go? Most of the rumors are having him go to either Atlanta, Chicago, Milwaukee, and I would hate that because Holmes has been one of the best pitcher the Mets have had the best 2 years for the last season and a half. It's not his fault he ended up getting injured. He just took a bad hot ball that just on a bad line that hit him in the shin during a game against the Yankees back in May. Will they go for Clay Holmes? Will the Angels go for Clay Holmes? I don't know. With Freddie Peralta now off the table in terms of wanting to get rid of Jose Soriano and Reed Detmers, I don't know. Also, when you consider that the Angels just recently sent out Logan O'Hoppe and Chase Seth to the Rangers for some prospects. Not sure if this trade will come about. Gossman is proving pretty difficult for Toronto to get rid of and expected to move during the deadline. Let me find a different. As the 1800 hour mark for MLB is moving closer. We're basically 24 hours out from the end of the trade deadline. Let's run down every meal that has been made up to this point. Yankees get most recent deal was Luis Garcia Jr. for Giovanni Cruz. To the Yankees for Luis Garcia Jr., Jake Bird, Jack Siebert, and Ben Grable. Garcia Jr. is going to get put in pretty early due to the fact that the Yankees are low on the bats with the injuries to Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton. Freddie Peralta sent from the Mets to the Rays for prospects to refill the farm system, namely Aiden Smith, Gary Hill, and Emilian Petrie. Blue Jays got cash considerations, Jameson Taillon, and the Cubs will get either cash considerations or a later playing name. The big ones, though, have been these two. Tarek Skubal to the Dodgers. In exchange, the Tigers get prospects Zaire Hope, River Ryan, and Brady Smith. The White Sox sent Luis Castillo from Seattle in exchange for Sir Anthony Dominguez, Nolan Jones, and Boston Smith. Lane Thomas and Bailey Falter to the Braves in exchange for Lucas Braun and Carter Holton. Camilo Duvall to the Pirates for Omar Alfonso and Luis Cruz. Bo Naylor and Cody Heward to the Brew Crew in exchange for Craig Yoho and Blake Perkins. Those were yesterday's deals. On Friday, the Twins sent Dean Kremer to the Orioles for Yormando Reyes, or was sent to the Twins for Yormando Reyes. The Twins the day before had sent Bruin Agbayani and Billy Amick, the former of who is Benny Agbayani's son, to the Mets farm system for AJ Minter. Tigers sent Jake Roberts to Baltimore for Zane Barnhart. Angel Arundolo to the Angels for Logan Hoppy and Chase Silseth. Jonathan Rodriguez to the Pirates for cash considerations. Felix Doroteo to Pittsburgh for Jose Urquidy. Scott Blewett to the A's for cash comps from St. Louis. Seth Halverson to the Dodgers in exchange for Landon Vitorek and Nick Frasso to the Rockies. Aaron Civale to the Cubs for Aiden Moffett. Lance McCullers Jr., Colton Gordon, and cash to Milwaukee for Jaden Fielder. The Tigers got Jahmai Jones and gave up Jahmai Jones in exchange for a player to be named. We don't know who it's going to be. Tommy Nance, international pool money for Ryan Sprock, a trade between Minnesota and Toronto. Pittsburgh got Jacob Gonzalez, and Brand Eastert in exchange for a competitive balance round for a 2026 competitive balance A-round pick, Jaden Woods. The McCullers and Fielder trade was Brewers and Astros. Astros also got Max Martin in exchange for Nate Pearson. Padres get international pool money in exchange for Ron Marinaccio. Cameron Minster for cash considerations to Philadelphia via Kansas City. And this is just getting ridiculous. Having said that, the Met trade. Look, I had openly stated I didn't like Freddie Peralta coming here. True. The Yankees did make a decent trade. But the Met trade has got me furious. I mean, if this proves to David Stearns that he is not general manager material for a large caliber market, for a large market squad like the Mets, why the fuck did Stevie Cohen hire this dumb fucker? I mean, this is a guy in Stearns who has no understanding of player loyalty. He threw out players that were healthy for players who were good 3 to 5 years ago. Tail end of their prime players in Marcus Semien and Jorge Polanco. And Polanco and Luis Robert. Polanco, Robert have done jack shit. There's been some semblance with Semien, but not much. The Mets are doomed to finishing dead last this season, and I've accepted that fate. But as far as this idiot criminal goes, who calls himself a GM? He's a con artist, a terrorist, a piece of scum who should have never gotten this job. Next season, if Cohen isn't busy flaunting his money or busy listening to fucking stock investors and would give a damn to actually listen to pure baseball analysts, damn fucking right, Austin. If he had half a brain to listen to fucking baseball people instead of stock investor bozos, maybe this team wouldn't be going downhill. You want to preach patience, Stearns? You want to know what the difference between you and Leon Rose is, the GM and president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks? Rose understood how to get people to come to New York. He knew which players had the potential to lead the Knicks. And I know a lot of people are saying, but Mets, his first 5 years didn't lead to a title. Well, here's the thing. Unlike Cohen and Stearns, who promised a World Series within 5 years, it's been 6 for the Mets. Rose was an honest individual who said it's going to take time for this team to get to the title. And in that same amount of time that Leon Rose has operated the New York Knicks, they did the one thing the Mets haven't been able to do: win the world title. And why? Because Rose wisely deduced which players to grab. Even if I didn't like him constantly trading away first-round draft capital for trading back in the draft with the first-round picks they got, and I wanted to strangle him for it. And what players to use. The problem was with the first 5 years was Tom Thibodeau being a stubborn jackass in his rotations and sets. And it was Mike Brown who got the team over the hump. Having said that, David Stearns is a con artist who has failed miserably. He is stuck in a time loop thinking that the Mets are a small market team. They're not. And this is a crime against humanity when you betray the team like this. I hope he gets his long overdue comeuppance when this season is over. Then we can get rid of some of the players that bullshitting snake brought onto this team. We can get rid of Polanco. We can get rid of Semien. We can get rid of Robert. Maybe get rid of Tauchman since he hasn't played at all. And we rebuild this team from the ground up. But this time, the gun has to be held directly at Stearns' head, at the skull of David Stearns, if he stays on as GM. You force him to spend lucrative amounts of money to get players that will get this team over the hump, as opposed to conning people with short-term contracts. I mean, really, at this point, the fan base has to hold the gun and place the gun directly on Stearns' skull. Because instead of owning up to his mistakes, he's constantly doubled down on them. Or someone go all Billy Butcher on his fucking ass. Beat the shit, lure him into his office, beat the shit out of him, have him begging for mercy, and grant him none. Because the sooner that piece of scum, and trust me, I could come up with a lot of worse words to call him, is gone, the better. For how he destroyed the New York Mets, sabotaged it. Similar to how Phil Jackson sabotaged the New York Knicks. Now, don't get me wrong, the 2013-2014 core wasn't built. I mean, the Nick team of 2013-2014 was not built for long-term sustainability. It was a bunch of guys at the tail end of their prime, predominantly at the tail ends of their physical primes. I mean, I would have preferred waiving Amari Stoudemire sooner than we did, with his knees giving out constantly. I didn't have an issue with letting go. I wish we had gotten rid of Bargnani sooner, because he sucked. But the way Jackson constructed the Knicks was done out of spite. He wanted the Zen approach. Everything to be run through the triangle offense. And what happened? He destroyed the New York Knicks for years. Beginning in 2014 and stretching up until Thibodeau came around to right the ship. Rose and Thibodeau came in to right the ship. And why? Because the team was not structured with players that could play the triangle. In many ways, this is what Stearns is doing with the Mets, trying to force them to play in a system that has the opposite effect. And the consequence should be that when this season's over, Stearns pulls his head out of his ass and Cohen pulls his head out of his ass and realizes what of a disaster this team has been this year and finally gets rid of him. And the sad thing is, Stearns fleeced the Mets for the sake of the money. Then you have to find a new GM who will spend the money and go out of his way to build a team that can be designed for long-term sustainability and success, instead of a fucking core of mercenaries. As for the other teams, their trades have been pretty solid. Though, those wondering why Scooble went to the Dodgers, well, Dodgers are going to be short Ohtani for the rest of the year, or at least that's what I'm hearing the rumor to be. So they need to fill in his rotation spot due to that knee injury. So Scooble's going to take that spot when he gets to Los Angeles. Which means the Tigers are going back to being bottom feeders. After a brief 2-year resurgence. Tough break, Detroit. See if any new trades have come up. Nope, nothing new. New since the Luis Garcia trade. Is it a pain in the fucking ass to deal with this shit? I think it is. And to my pal in the wrestling community, Donovan Danhausen, or just Danhausen, I hate to say it, but uncursing the New York Mets when you didn't curse them arguably did the team a lot more harm than good. I'm sorry to say it. Now, if you had personally gone into David Stern's office during the Saturday night main event weekend, no wait, I think the Mets were out of town that weekend. Or if the WWE had shown up in New York City a lot sooner, you would have told him, you are cursed. And you know what the difference to that is? Sure, Mets fans have been starving for a world title for 40 years, but they're not going to bail Stearns out with human monies until his fucking ass is gone. I mean, from a curse until his ass is gone. So, I mean, let's be honest. Even if Danhausen were to curse David Stearns, I mean, seriously, he should tell David Stearns, you are cursed. If you want to be uncursed, leave the Mets and never come back. Leave the Metshausens and never come the fuck back. Now, he wouldn't say fuck, but you get the point. Since he's more of a kid-friendly character, but you get the picture I'm trying to paint. And then once Stearns is out of there, maybe Danhausen will uncurse them. I don't know what it's going to take to fix this team. But either way, Stearns has got to be driven out. How this trade deadline plays out between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow night, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. That's it for this episode of OTD. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. It's been a while since I've done one of these episodes. I'm Mets2128. Let's stop the screen share. Goodbye and good fucking night. Bang. Oop. End the stream.